Hello, everyone. I am Josh Scott, and welcome to Opinionated. Today is going to be the first show. I'm still working on a few kinks and odds and ends. I am not going to have the best sound quality, but I am going to try to give you what I have right now until I can get a better setup. Speaking of setups, and it's not all about money at all. Um, but if you would like to support me in the podcast, you can go to patreon.com at overopinionated, and I can provide some links because it's not just overopinionated. It added some numbers at the end. But you are in no way obligated. It's just if you would like to help me and the podcast grow, um, that would mean a lot to me. But even you listening to 5 minutes of this a week means a lot to me. And I would appreciate if you share it with your friends. Like I said earlier, I'm not a bigwig. I work a job. Right after I get done recording this, I'm going to go to sleep so I can get up to work in the morning. But right now, I'm doing this with just my cell phone and my laptop. But I'm hoping to get a better setup soon. With that said, let's start the show. Like I said, if there's a dog in the background or anything like that, I apologize, but hopefully everyone's asleep. So, over this weekend, tragic news of a murder and death of Tyre Nichols has been all over the news from Memphis, Tennessee, a very heavily African American community. The man who was killed by African American officers as well, handcuffed behind the back and beaten to death senselessly. There was an altercation of where he was pulled over for reckless driving, and after suffering bad, well, more worse than bad, horrific police treatment, he ran away, and they caught up to him, and it did not end well for the 29-year-old man, unfortunately. And our hearts and minds and prayers go out to the young man and his family. Now, anytime something like this happens, the media always jumps to race. And I believe it divides the country, and America doesn't have great race relations right now. We're a very diverse country, and with many different cultures and backgrounds and races and religions. And we have a history of awful racism. The question is, does that awful racism continue today systemically and legally, or is it just in the hearts of evil and sinful people and not all people? I believe the latter, and there might be some that is true when it comes to the legal system. But the mainstream media is jumping on the bandwagon of white supremacy and racism once again. Um, it's harder to make in this case when the officers were also African American. Now let's take race aside and reverse it completely. If this was a white man killed by white officers, we would only be hearing about, obviously, police brutality. And there, now I'm not. I actually do think the media would get on this one too because of how awful and horrendous it was. I mean, it was truly awful, truly tragic. I hope these police officers are persecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and it's truly horrific and awful and saddening. I mean, um, to treat another human being, regardless of color or religion or creed or language, like that. There's justice, which police officers should be enforcing, and the vast majority of them are. But and then there is this, which is injustice and just just pure awfulness. And But with that said, the I've pulled up so many articles. And here's an opinion piece headline from the CNN. Opinion: the police officers who killed Tyre Nichols were black, but they might have still been driven by racism. Um, they compare the killing to the beating of Rodney King. Um, Give me just 1 second. I want to read you a passage. Forgive me, this is not the article I was going to read you, but I did want to read you the name of the article, which was an opinion piece. The police officer who killed Nicholas were black, but they still might have been driven by racism, meaning there's systemic racism, which is transferred into the African American police force. And it just talks about the history of police brutality and racism, but I don't think it gives a cause and the training in which causes that. So there's no real solution. Here is a piece from The Root, which is an African American news site. Tyre Nichols' death is driven by racism, even with 4 black cops. Here's why. I'm going to read you the article. Forgive me, I'm not great with pronouncing words and I'm not great reading. I'm going to do my best. You can definitely pull it up on your own if you want. It is from The Root, and it's Tyre Nichols. The death is driven by racism, even for 4 black officers. Here is why. The country continues to mourn the loss of Tyre Nichols, the 29-year-old black man who died at the hands of 5 black former Memphis police officers earlier this month. Americans have taken to the streets in various cities to protest yet another heartbreaking case of police brutality that resulted in the loss of life of an innocent black man. Black folks are demanding justice and an end to a system that continues to kill us. Nicholas, a FedEx worker and a father of a 4-year-old son, was stopped on the night of January 7th for a reckless driving, according to his family's legal terms. The Memphis Police Department released a statement explaining that the officer tried to arrest Nicholas, leading to a confrontation in which he allegedly fled. A second confrontation occurred before Nicholas was arrested. Shortly after his arrest, complaints of having shortness of breath, at which time an ambulance was called. Nicholas was transported to a hospital and was in critical condition. He sadly passed away January 10th, just 3 days after the beating. On Friday evening, video footage was released showing the violent arrest of Nicholas, in which case he was tased, pepper sprayed, beaten with a bayonet and baton, not bayonet, and punched in the face. In addition to the sadness and anger, some of the discourse surrounding this tragedy addressed the race of the cops involved in the incident. All 5, I'm not going to read their names. It does list their names in the article, but I'm not going to read them, were charged with murdering Nicholas, are black. Race is important here since diversity is often used as a metric of progress of police. However, officers involved in Nicholas's death were merely uphold a white supremacy structure that was founded on capturing and harming black people, as Ralph Richardson Banks, law professor and faculty of Stanford Center for Racial Justice, explained. Black people and black folks, black officers can carry with them some of the same understandings of views of black people. As white officers, there is nothing that immunes them. The police force in Memphis is around 60% black, in addition to the city having a population of 65%. The statistic gives the fatal the, that black law enforcement will more than likely to successfully protect citizens who look like them. However, 2022 was a year where the police killed the most people in a decade, and most of the victims were black. What happened to Tyre Nichols is sadly not an anomaly when it comes to what cops do to black people. What this is has what this tragedy has proven is there's no amount of diversity funding or reform that can change that profit off of our carnage. And listen, I know I'm not a great reader so please forgive me. I do have a stutter, and I'm not a great reader, and especially when it comes to names. Listen, this is tragic, absolutely tragic. Punish the officers, lock away the key. Um, but was this racism? I don't know. I I personally don't think it was racism. If there is some metric or system in place in policing that should be changed, let's point that specific thing out. Um, I'm all for police reform. I think police brutality is awful. I also want to say I think the vast majority of police officers are good men and women doing their jobs for the public. And I think that racism is awful, but I think America is just divided by race. But I think, in a lot of ways, but I think Americans as a whole, no matter what color, are good and want justice for all people overall. You're never going to change the individual's hearts, the ones that are bad, and there's no law that you can legislate that will do that. I personally see this as just a case of evil. Well, maybe evil is too strong a word, but I think it comes very close of awful, awful police brutality. And what they did to that young man was evil. I was on a date with my fiance, and she read what happened, and it broke my heart. I got home, and I asked my father, if he saw it, and I asked him if it was as bad as the George Floyd video, and he said it was worse. I'll be honest with you. I didn't watch the video. I don't plan on it. I've read about it, and I've had my friends tell me about it, and my family members, and it's heartbreaking. I can't watch that. No matter what color he is, no one deserves to be treated like this. Especially for a traffic stop. He didn't pull a gun on them. He ran away. So they lock away these guys, throw away the key, um, prosecute them to the fullest extent of Tennessee law, and our prayers go to him. Hopefully, we don't have a reaction like we did to George Floyd, which was also awful. But we don't want protests to get violent like we did in the summer of 2020, which was also awful. And it caused many more deaths, unfortunately. But that's how kind of the media was reacting, the mainstream media at least. Not that Roots is a mainstream media. Also, I want to add in the article the publisher also said, just in case there's any confusion, just remember ACAB, which is a slur to police officers, which I don't really feel like repeating, but it's ACAB, and I'm not going to say exactly what it means on air. So it's truly awful. But we are going to move to the next story. Going to the Virginia House of Delegates. Transitioning over from that hard story to this story, there I'm going to be reading an article from W Top News, which is I think a local affiliate. I'm sorry, a local news channel in the Washington D.C. area that covers some Virginia. Um, Virginia. I'm going to read the article from W Top News. Virginia bill requiring transgender students play on teams based on biological sex passes subcommittee. A Virginia bill that would require transgender athletes in public schools from elementary school through college to play on teams that match their biological sex passed out of subcommittee on Monday. HB 1387, introduced by Virginia Beach Republican Karen Greenhall, doesn't include the word transgender, but would have the effect of barring transgender students in K through 12 schools and colleges from competing on teams that match gender identities. The purpose of House Bill 1837 is to protect our girls and young women from being forced to compete against biological males, said Greenhow. Similarly, gifted the tentant males will always have physical advantages over females, which is the reason we have women's sports. The bill applies to all levels of competition, including interscholastic, intercollegiate, interformal clubs and teams. To try out for a team, the student athlete would need to submit an athlete's accessibility form signed from a licensed physician and a licensed nurse practitioner or a physical assistant which specifies in such student biological sex. Even the strongest, fastest girls in Virginia must stand up to the starting line, and I know I can't win, said Greenhill. Their goals are gone. Their chance at winning and recognition and scholarship, it's just not fair for women to lose those opportunities. Democrat former Speaker of the House, Ellen Corn of Fairfax County, asked Greenhow if she was aware of a single transgender athlete currently competing in Virginia. I'd like to know why this is an issue of urgency, Fellow Corn asked. We have had transgender youth living in the Commonwealth, and there has been no takeover of women's sports. The bill comes in the midst of Governor Glenn Youngkin's proposed policy for transgender students that, among things, would require transgender students to use school facilities to play on teams that match their biological sex. That frame of crisis that's need to be resolved now, Fillercorn asked, and my question is why. Greenhall said the prevalence of the situation is not the issue. If one girl loses her chance to win, that's enough, said Greenhow. If one girl loses her chance to compete, that's enough. Greenhow said in her comment is not the number of women who will lose their opportunities to make or win at a team. It's not how many women are going to have their dreams crushed. It's the fact that it can happen. And we need to make sure that it doesn't, Greenhow continued. Greenhow passed the bill post-secondary and the higher ed subcommittee and will be heard by the full subcommittee Wednesday. Okay, basically, Virginia Beach area delegate Karen Greenhow introduced a bill which I 100% agree with, that biological men must play for biological male sports teams. Biological female should play for biological females sports teams. Basically, the problem is we have, and it might not be widespread or rampant, but there have been cases of biological men who transition into women and identify as a woman playing on the women's sports team and dominating. There was the issue of the college swimmer who ended up placing and taking away a spot from a young lady um, in the NCAA. It's not the fact that they're going to just completely. I'm not worried that LeBron James is going to call himself a woman and become a transgender woman and dominate the WNBA. I'm worried about this person, this biological male, stepping into the volleyball team or this or that and taking away any girl who works her hind end off to make a team, to be good at a sport, to it to be robbed from her. Um, I think sports are a great thing, especially in high school, and it teaches you self discipline. It teaches you time management and hard work and a lot of social skills that you will take with you to the workforce. And most of these people aren't going to go professional, and most of them won't go to college. Some of them will. But it will teach you these life skills which are good. And when you put a biological male in a woman's team, a transgender woman is a biological man that has been born a man and was born with XY chromosomes. And they will die a man. Now, people will say, Josh, you're being transphobic. That's mean. That's hateful. I'm not trying to be mean and hateful. This is America. You are free to live as you wish. But you're not free to enforce your world ideology onto me and my loved ones. I have two little sisters still in school. I don't want them to go out for a sports team and be robbed from a biological male who's a transgender woman. That's just a fact. We're not even getting into the bathrooms, which is a whole nother can of worms. That doesn't mean I hate you. I will still love you, but I disagree with how you're living your life right now. I'm not going to affirm someone's life to make them happy when I think that that's the worst thing that they can do for themselves in life. What kind of a person would I be? What kind of a Christian would I be? I don't want the doctor to say, Josh, well, I'm going to affirm you, your lifestyle, you're overweight. But I still love you and you can be overweight, it's okay. Well, she can still love me, but if she loves me, she's going to say, Josh, here's a diet plan. You need to lose weight. That doesn't mean you're less of a person. I'm not. They'll say you're denying their existence. I know they exist. They're still a human being. I believe they're still made in God's image. I'm saying they're not the gender or the sex they claim to be. And biologically, men are just stronger as a general rule. Men are just stronger and faster and more athletic than women as a general rule. Now, there's some women that's a lot stronger and faster and better than me and could beat me up. I'm saying as a general principle. So I agree with this law, and it might. But the sad thing is, it might have passed the subcommittee, and it might even pass the committee, and it might even pass the House of Delegates, where we have a 52 House lead. Even if it does all that, it will fail in the Senate because we have the Democrats control the Senate by 2 senators in the Virginia State Senate. That's why in 2023, obviously I'm a Republican, I'm going to say this. I'm a conservative, I'm going to say this. We need to get out and vote to give Glenn Youngkin and the Republican Party a majority in the House and the Senate so we can pass good laws like this. This law will fail. Um, the former Speaker of the House, um, which asked Delegate Greenhow these questions about, you know, have they went rampant over the sport here and there. I don't really think that. I understand her questioning. She's a liberal from Nova, who's representing her constituents, and she believes this. It doesn't matter if everyone becomes a transgender to play women's sports. We're saying you should not rob one individual from the opportunity to play on a sports team, to play for to play for a championship, to to try to get a scholarship, which could affect their education. But that is my opinion on all this. That's just one news story I wanted to read you. I found interesting. I really believe with my whole heart that um, sports should be male sports should be for males, and women's sports should be for women's. I actually have less of a problem with a woman playing a men's sport. If a woman wants to play men's basketball and she dominates the team, well, because she's at a disadvantage, generally speaking. Remember, I'm saying generally speaking, because she's just not normally going to be as tall or as strong, and sometimes as fast as a man. She don't get me wrong, she's just as smart as man, and she has a lot better has a lot better sense of some things as a man. But our biology is just different. It's just set up that way. That is my opinion. Obviously, I mean, this is, and I just want to clarify, I might provide news and I might give you news headlines and read those news headlines. And then I'm going to give you an opinion. So this is opinionated commentary. This is not Walter Cronkite type of news. And I am by no means, please, listen, if you ever put this much faith in me, thank you so much. But don't ever put faith in one news source. Go to multiple news sources. Read and listen to multiple people. Please don't put all your eggs in my basket, because I'm just reading you the stories which I find interesting and which I have an opinion on. Well, I'm going to lighten the mood a little bit right now and go to some Super Bowl talk. The Kansas City Chiefs defeated my Pittsburgh Steelers division rivals, the Cincinnati Bengals, 23-20, in a game where there was some questionable calls, bad refereeing. But and I've heard some Kansas City fans definitely get upset with that, and I totally understand. But at the end of the game, a Kansas City defensive player hitting Patrick Mahomes when he's already out of bounds, giving them 15 more yards to set up a field goal. You can't complain when that happens. That is on you. They're going to call that every single day. Kansas City deserves to go to the Super Bowl. Philadelphia deserves to go to the Super Bowl. Let's see them fight. Let's have fun and see them fight. There's a few cool stories. Jackson Kelsey is a football player for the Philadelphia Eagles, and he plays center for them. And his brother, Travis Kelsey, plays tight end. He's absolute great. He might be the best tight end in the NFL. He probably is right now for the Kansas City Chiefs. And this is the first time we've had two brothers play against each other in the Super Bowl, which I'm sure Mr. and Mrs. Kelsey are super happy about, but they're also super emotional about, because man, you're going to celebrate. You got one guaranteed son going to be a Super Bowl champion, and you're going to celebrate and congratulate them. But man, you have to tell one and console one and tell them it's going to be okay. You can get back here. There will be another day. I'm still proud of you. Obviously, there's more pride than hurt, but it's going to be hard for the brother that loses. And I would not want that job. But obviously, a huge amount of pride for the Kelsey family. Um, I want to talk about something. You know, Andy Reid, I think, is one of the most phenomenal football coaches in football right now. He has went to two Super Bowls, once with the Philadelphia Eagles, his old team, which he will be playing on Super Bowl Sunday, and once with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's took the Chiefs to 5 consecutive um, AFC Championship games, all at Arrowhead, all in his home stadium. Amazing. But when you think about Andy Reid, what always comes to mind? It comes cheeseburgers. It comes his weight, and he might play into the thing a little bit. But this is my take. I'm okay with calling him Big Red. He doesn't mind being called that, I don't think. And he might bring up the cheeseburgers and all that and good fun, and he seems joking in the locker room. Seems like a great guy to call. But I really get tired of all the internet memes making fun of how big he is and how overweight he is. You know, I'm someone who currently and has always struggled with his weight his entire life, and I can tell you a lot of those jokes from your friends. I mean, some can be funny, but some can be really hurtful, and you just laugh because you don't want to let on that you don't like that joke. And this could be with anything. Um, please be careful what you say to people. And some people will say, well, if you joke and make fun of them, they'll lose weight. Sometimes. And I have lost weight before, and it goes back up, as most people who struggles with their weight will tell you that. But some people, it doesn't just motivate them to go to the gym. Some people, it mentally shuts them down, and it wears them out, and it makes them depressed, and can lead to sometimes self-harm and suicide, unfortunately. And it's totally sad. Um, I'm not saying at all that this is how Andrew Reid feels, but I do not like people constantly sharing memes and making fun of his weight. If he plays with his players in the locker room and jokes about it, that's totally fine. That's between him and his players. But let's try to do better as people, I think. Listen, I'm not saying that I haven't um, made inappropriate jokes before. Maybe to some of my friends. I definitely have, as all people. But let's just try to grow. Andy Reid is a phenomenal, phenomenal football coach. And, I know a lot of people say he never won the big one with the Eagles. That's true, but he took them there. And he took them to a lot of NFC championship games. And anything can happen any given Sunday. Andy Reid has proven himself. He's a two-time Super Bowl champion, one time as an assistant, and one time as a head coach. The man knows football. And also, like, I don't know exactly all the reasons why he left the Philadelphia Eagles. It seems like I would have to do a lot more research, but it seems like to me the Eagles were wanting him to leave because he didn't win the big one ever. I could be totally wrong about that. Could be a million times wrong about that, but that was my impression. So I'm definitely going to be rooting for the Kansas City Chiefs. Um, Watching Patrick Mahomes is absolutely phenomenal and fun, and he's a great ball player. I actually watched one of the current Kansas City Chiefs live when they were in high school. I was a senior. He was a senior. We didn't play the same night, but he played for single A football. I played double A football, and my team had lost. We went undefeated and lost to our division rival, who came back and won state championship and beat us. We won the state championship previously, but he played for Alta Vista or Alta Vista. His name was Juan Thornhill. Absolutely phenomenal ball player. He went to UVA. He played quarterback in high school, and I believe he either played corner or safety in defense. And he was just running all over the field. He was the difference in that game. I believe he's a three-time VHSL state champion for football, just football, and has a few other rings in basketball and track. Guy's a phenomenal person. He won the Super Bowl with the Chiefs his first year, I think, out of the draft, but he was hurt and couldn't play the Super Bowl game. So good luck to my fellow Virginian. We actually won a state championship on the same night. He won one before me my junior year, and then I won one with my 2013 undefeated Giles Spartans. We won in overtime, 20-19. So that's one reason I'm rooting for the Chiefs as well. Juan Forhill, Andy Reid. Also another personal reason, I had a cousin on my mom's side of the family who passed away, who was a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. He was a great guy and a Little League coach. I 100% believe he's in heaven, and he was a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. So I will be rooting for my cousin Robbie's team. But moving on from sports and Super Bowl, I want to read you just one. I just want to read you one more story. This is from the Virginia Mercury, which you can get a lot of Virginia politics off of Virginia Mercury. It's a little left leaning, but you can just you know filter that out if you would like. But here's an article about a bill that Marie March proposed. A Virginia deer hunting bill has no path forward, says committee chair. Delegate sought to make hunting season year-round. A Southwest Virginia delegate shot at expanding the deer hunting season to year-round on private property. On January 18th, the House Natural Resource Subcommittee failed to take action on Bill 1811 from Delegate Marie March, Republican of Floyd County. While March said Friday she is tweaking the bill, and Subcommittee Chair James Erdman, Republican from Halifax, said it could possibly still be brought back in amendment form to apply only to March's Loyalty House Agriculture, Chesapeake, and Natural Resource Committee Chair Lee Ware of Pocatan said the bill is likely to remain dormant. I don't see a path forward for the bill, Warren said. Ware said nothing. The subcommittee heard the testimony and didn't file to complete the motion. The bill was a way to address the deer population in Southwest Virginia, March said during a hearing on the proposal. My parents live in East Tennessee, and they said they've never seen as many deer when they come to see us in Southwest Virginia, she said. Department of Wildlife Resources molding indicates that the state's deer population has recently stabled over the past decades between 90,000 and 1.1 million. Currently, the hunting season is limited to fall and early winter, with exceptions for certain locations. March said expanding the season could help address several problems around the state linked to deer, including the appearance of chronic waste disease in Fairfax County, which adopted an urban archery program to curb the deer program. A 2021 drone study found Arlington deer population had increased heavy levels. Lyme disease from ticks associated with deer is also a concern, she said, and seasonal workers have complained about not getting enough time to hunt. Um, Stephanie Tylone, Senior Associate Director of Government Relations for the Virginia Farm Bureau, said expanding the hunting season would allow farmers to protect crops and livestock that are in danger from deer. The wildlife resource was natural on the proposal. Deer are the most hunted and most viewed species in Virginia, said the DWR Executive Director Ryan Brown. The state's 10-year deer management plan authorizes numbers that are not informed around Virginia. He added, with urban and suburban areas typically having larger populations due to lack of hunting opportunities. The plan led to some of the longest hunting seasons in the country, Brown said. Virginia also has a kill permit program for when wildlife has damaged crops or residential plants, and the department offers guidelines for non-lethal solutions. It's not exactly the case that a longer season necessarily leads to greater harvest, Brown said. We do our best according to the science and according to cultural demands of the effect. And forgive me for all my bad reading. I'm not a great reader. But Delegate Marie March, which I have met in person, she is uh, she's a very pro-Trump, liberty-minded delegate who is in a primary, a very vicious primary with Delegate Ren Williams, who I've also met in person, but haven't spoke to both of them much. But I've both met them in person at one point. They are definitely trading blows at the moment for a district which they were both drawn into, which will be interesting to see, and we'll definitely cover some of that. And but yes, you wanted to make it where you could hunt deer on your on private property year round. I'm not a hunter. I don't have a strong opinion either way on this, I guess. Other than the fact that I don't, I fear that implementing this would decrease the deer population way too much. Um, but I understand the argument that this is my property. I should get to do as I please. But you don't get to do as you please when it hurts other people, and depleting the deer population too much would hurt other people. I'm not at all talking bad about Delegate Marie March. I would have to study this bill more, but it did die. It was killed in committee. Also, I want to address something nationally. It seems like the three big contenders for the White House right now in 2024 all have classified document scandals and holding on to them. Former Vice President Mike Pence, former President Donald Trump, and also former Vice President Joe Biden all have classified documents. The only one that I give some leeway to is Mike Pence, because he reported the documents to the DOJ when he found them, and I really think it was, well, everyone else has got them. Maybe I should look, and he came up with some Yeah, there has to be a way that we can track these documents better and keep them in the government's possession and um, not in former presidents and vice presidents uh, keepings. I doubt very seriously any of them will see harsh penalties from the government. But I, we do have to get a lot better at that, and it just seems like all the 2024 contenders, the big ones, right now, not all, but I'm exaggerating, but quite a bit of them are have a lot of classified material, which I'm sure Hillary Clinton is rolling over. She's not dead yet, but for she's rolling over in her bed, going crazy. But to be fair, what she did was pretty awful with the email servers as well. But yeah, and thank goodness she never became president because she's 10 times worse than Joe Biden. There's a few. I don't like Joe Biden as a president, but there's a few politicians that, man, they just get under my skin, and Hillary Clinton is one of them. Just cannot stand her. I would rather have Joe Biden as president than her, just because. Well, they both might be liars. It feels like everyone in Washington is a liar. But she's like a really big liar. Like every time she talks, she lies. And I just cannot stand her. So I'm not sad to see that she was not president. And to be fair, if we had to win a presidential election, I am. I would much rather us win the 2016 election than the 2020 election. Uh, just because of the Supreme Court seats, we ended up appointing free and overturning Roe v. Wade, which was a great day. Man, I was at my job and I just when I saw that on my phone, I mean, there wasn't anybody around, but even if there was, I just started hollering and praising God, really, because it was a great evil and great injustice to the unborn that were slaughtered. We still got a long ways to go. It's up to the states now. But man, a lot of lives will be saved because Roe v. Wade has been overturned. And we have to work and we have to work to help those little babies out. Go to pregnancy resource centers and donate to them supplies and money. Also, just the kids that have been born as well. Let's pour love into them. And listen, if I make any money ever off this podcast, I'm going to donate a percentage of that money to pro-life organizations and to a more than likely a pregnancy resource center. We have one in Blacksburg, and they do really great, amazing stuff. And I just want to read you. With that being said, I'm closing and wrapping up my daily podcast, and I'm sorry, my more like weekly podcast. God bless you, and if you listen to all of this, really God bless you, man. You are a champ. But I want to do a Bible verse of the day every day. I do a podcast, and I am going to read you the English Standard Version of First Thessalonians 5:11. Therefore, encourage one another and build one another up, just as you are doing. And man, this is talking to Christians, encouraging other Christians, but it doesn't have to be limited to that. And speak life. into someone else's world, into someone else's life. Maybe they'll get saved and submit to Jesus and have a personal relationship with Him. Listen, I'm not a good Christian. There's sins in my life that I'm ashamed of. But even though I sin daily, and I fall daily, I have a God and a Savior who loves me and died for me, especially when I don't deserve it most. So let's encourage each other. Let's build each other up in the faith. This goes beyond politics. I know we just talked about politics, and people are going to say you're mixing the two up. I'm not doing it completely. It's not completely mixed all up. And I'm not doing anything unconstitutional, for sure. But let's build each other up in the faith. Encourage one another. Love one another. Speak words of affirmation when you see someone getting down, when you see someone getting sad and weak. Sometimes all it takes to help them have a better day is a word of encouragement. Hey brother, hey sister, I love you. It's going to be okay. Keep your head up. Jesus loves you. Man, that's... And give all glory to God. And build each other up and love each other. Jesus... Well, it might not be Jesus, but the Bible, I would have to look up the scripture. I'll do it later and get back with you. Once said, they will know you, how you love each other. Not what all good works you do, not all the hospitals you build, not all this or that, or the elections you win, or the debates you win. It's how you love each other. And I'm not saying I don't get caught up in all this sometimes, because I do. I've got this podcast for a reason. Over Opinionated, it's a podcast for a reason. With that being said, the greatest of these is love. Let us love everybody, no matter what they look like, where they're from, what language they speak. Jesus can save anybody. All you gotta do is repent. Say, I'm sorry for my sins. Help me not to do them anymore. And when I do them, help me to get back up. And love your neighbor. All you gotta do is repent and believe the gospel. Ask Him for your forgiveness. And accept Jesus and have a personal relationship with Him. And then we love our neighbor. And let us encourage each other. Thank you, everybody, for everything you've done. Even if you listen to 5 minutes of this podcast, because we're going on an hour now. I don't expect everyone to listen to the whole hour, but if you do, God bless you. If you don't, God bless you. Thank you so much. This has been the first episode of Over Opinionated. I filmed this on Tuesday, the 31st of January 2023. Most people will get this tomorrow at the start of the new month. But God bless you all and have a great night. I will see you next time.